All right, so, you guys sent in a ton of stuff about Claire and Frank and their trip to the Highlands.
Yeah, just after World War II.
Exactly. Yeah, so we're going to try to unpack, like, all the weird stuff that happened to them, on their holiday before Frank starts his new job at Oxford.
It was meant to be a holiday.
Yeah, it was supposed to be this, like, relaxing...
Yeah, a second honeymoon kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
And, I mean, right off the bat, they chose Scotland for specific reasons, not just randomly. They were looking for a place that hadn't been, completely destroyed by the war.
Right, less of the, rubble and...
Yeah, and also this kind of like...
What did Claire call it?
This frenetic post-war gaiety.
Yes, the gays.
Going on everywhere else.
Yeah, like they wanted...
So they wanted some peace and quiet. And
some respite.
yeah.
And of course, their initial impressions of where they're staying are not great.
Not exactly luxurious.
No, Claire makes this comment about, like, the carpet being, like, the dirtiest carpet.
In the Highlands?
In Highlands, yeah. And almost as dirty as their landlady's mind.
Yeah.
She even wonders, like, maybe we should have gone to Brighton. So it's just very funny right from the start.
And then there's that interaction with Mr. Bainbridge, the solicitor.
Oh, yeah.
And it's so interesting how that just kind of like normal conversation about language turns into this like little historical lesson.
Right, right. He's trying to find what he calls
neutral ground.
Neutral historical ground, yeah. And they end up talking about, like, profanity and slang.
And minced oaths.
Minced oaths, yeah.
Like gorblimey.
Which comes from, like,
God blind me.
God blind me.
Yeah.
And then the Zukin gadzooks.
Where does that come from?
Yeah, and he has this theory
About uke.
Uke, which means, like...
Itch.
Itch. So, yeah, it's just, like, a very...
Fascinating.
Yeah, fascinating little bit.
Right.
And then it starts to get a little weird.
A little spooky.
Yeah, with Frank seeing that man outside their lodgings. And Claire's, immediate response is like, oh, you've been drinking too much sherry.
Yeah. She's very much like, ghosts are for like misty evenings in graveyards.
Yeah, she's very grounded and rational.
Yes, very logical.
Yeah, but then they have a drink and he's like, no, I really saw him.
Yeah, just a man standing in the road.
And it's like, oh, okay.
But it's weird.
Yeah, there's something weird about it.
There's something a bit off.
Yeah, definitely off.
And then that weirdness just explodes when Claire's at the stone circle.
Oh my gosh, the stone circle.
She's sleepy. She's waiting for the dawn, and she's thinking about, like, druids appearing or something.
Yeah, it's all very romantic in her head.
And then Mrs. Graham, the housekeeper, shows up with her little white bundle.
All normal.
Just normal, everyday stuff.
That scream.
The scream.
It's like nothing she's ever heard before.
She says it's like a scream from a stone.
Yeah.
And then it's like the stones are all screaming.
And there's the sounds of battle-dying men horses.
It's just this cacophony of crazy noises.
Sensory overload. Yeah, she's totally disoriented. Her head's spinning. Her vision's blurring.
It's terrifying.
It's terrifying. And then she gets grabbed.
By Jamie.
By Jamie, yeah.
It's violent. She's struggling. He's heavy.
And he's got this rock digging into her back.
It's awful.
It's awful. And then he just, like, chuckles.
Yeah, and says something about it being an inopportune moment.
Yeah, very strange.
And then they're off.
They're gone just like that.
She's on horseback with Jamie, and someone's threatened to cut her throat if she tries anything.
She has no idea what's happening.
No idea.
Where she is, who these people are, why they're in such a hurry.
Nothing.
It's crazy.
And she's worried about Frank.
Of course, but she knows she can't mention him.
Not a good time.
No, not at all.
And along the way, they come across that injured man.
And Claire, like, even though she's terrified, she still wants to help.
He's a healer.
Yeah, she's amazing.
And the man just talks about doing penance on a cold chapel floor in just his shirt.
So we know we're not in 1945 anymore.
Yep.
And then they get to Castle Leo.
Which is nothing like she imagined.
Right, she thought it would be this picturesque ruin.
Yeah.
But it's not a ruin.
Not at all.
It's a very lived-in castle.
With pigs.
Pigs and the smell of raw sewage.
So romantic.
And it's there that she really starts to think, okay, I'm in the 18th century somehow.
It's becoming undeniable.
And then she meets Jamie.
And the name Randall comes up.
And she has this huge reaction.
Jamie talks about this redcoat captain named Randall who gave him the scars on his back.
And he's not even upset about it.
No, he's almost pleased.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's very strange.
And Claire's freaking out inside because she's thinking this could be Frank's ancestor.
Yeah.
The man who did this horrible thing to Jamie.
How could someone related to sweet, gentle Frank do something like that?
It's a horrible thought.
It's really disturbing.
And then Claire wakes up in Castle Uke and Mistress Fitzgibbons brings her clothes.
Like this long linen chemise and petticoats and overskirts.
And stockings and slippers.
It's all very different from what she's used to.
Completely different.
And then we see the Great Hall at dinner.
Oh, yeah, with the banners and tartans and everyone's eating together.
Yeah, there's no ceremony. It's very communal.
And everyone's speaking Gaelic.
And Claire's getting these curious glances.
She feels so out of place.
Like she doesn't belong.
And all.
And even the toiletries that Mistress Fitz gives her.
Oh, yeah, the lead combs and the powders and the kohl and the rouge.
It's also different from what she's used to.
It's like another world.
And then Claire finds Davy Beaton's old surgery.
Yeah, she's snooping around.
And she asks Colum about her own medical knowledge.
Very carefully.
Yes, she doesn't want to give too much away.
And Colum just tells Mrs. Fitz to clean the room.
He doesn't seem that interested in medicine.
But he lets her stay.
And she finds these 2 medical books.
A big blue one and a smaller black one.
Yeah.
And they're full of these crazy remedies.
Like horse dung for headaches.
Horse dung.
And leeches for convulsions.
And 200 slaters for jaundice.
What are slaters?
Woodlice.
200 woodlice.
Yeah.
It's amazing anyone survived.
I know, it's unbelievable.
But Claire starts to feel useful.
Yeah, she starts treating the people at the castle for their minor ailments.
And she feels less like a victim.
Yeah, she's not just trapped anymore.
She's finding her place.
And then Dougal says he's going to take the horses to the village smith.
And he invites Claire to go with him.
To see the fiscal's wife.
Who's an herb woman.
Claire's so happy to get out of the castle.
She needs a break.
Definitely.
And the village is bustling with activity.
Yeah, there's this incident with the Tanner's lad and Father Bain and Arthur Duncan.
And then John McRae, the locksman, shows up.
He's got so many jobs.
Yeah, he's the jailer and the constable and the customs inspector and even the executioner.
Wow, that's a lot of responsibility.
And then there's Jamie's oath taking a column.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone's drinking ale and it's all very festive, but Jamie's not happy.
He's definitely under duress.
But he takes the oath anyway.
Silently.
Yeah.
And Colum gives him this blue velvet bonnet with a holly badge.
It's like a symbol of his loyalty to the clan.
Even though it doesn't feel very genuine.
And then a representative from Clan Grant shows up.
To arrange a marriage.
A political alliance.
Yeah, Colum welcomes him very theatrically.
He's a good politician.
And it's so hot and smoky during the oath ceremony.
That's stifling.
And then after a boar hunt, Claire's called upon to tend to an injured man.
She knows right away that he's not going to make it.
But she does what she can.
She's amazing.
And she wants some time alone afterwards.
She needs to process everything.
Yeah, and she wants to apologize to Jamie for getting him involved in the oath-taking.
And she's worried about Rupert gossiping.
About their amorous dalliance. As if.
Yeah, but you know how rumors spread?
And then Dougal makes this big speech in the Great Hall.
Full of anti-English sentiment.
A lot of which Claire doesn't understand.
Because it's in Gaelic.
Yeah.
But then he starts collecting money from the clansmen.
Separately from the Mackenzie rents.
So it's clear he's got his own agenda.
And then Jamie comes back to the surgery all bruised.
And Claire's annoyed with him.
For being reckless.
But she takes care of him anyway.
She tears strips from an old shawl to bind his ribs.
She's a good woman.
And then later that night, Claire's walking down the hallway with a candlestick.
Because it's dark.
Yeah, and she thinks she sees someone.
So she's being cautious.
But it turns out to be Jamie.
And she trips over him.
It's hilarious.
It's a good moment of comic relief.
And then Dougal tells them that Captain Randall is nearby.
In Brockton.
Yeah, it's bad news.
And Claire meets Randall at the inn.
It's a very tense encounter.
He knows that Colum suspects Claire of being a spy.
And he makes these veiled threats.
It's scary.
And Claire's frustrated with Dougal for not taking her seriously.
She feels trapped.
And she wishes she had tried to escape earlier.
It's a bad situation.
And then suddenly they're getting married.
Jamie and Claire.
Yeah.
It's all very sudden.
Jamie makes this funny comment to Dougal about the legality of it all.
He's got a good sense of humor.
And then he gives Claire this beautiful pearl necklace.
It's a surprise.
A nice surprise.
And they have this awkward conversation afterwards.
Claire's trying to ask questions.
And Jamie's being kind of evasive.
And she finds something hard in her pocket.
We don't know what it is yet.
It's a mystery.
And then Jamie tells Claire about Lallybroch.
His home.
Yeah, he talks about its history and the terms of its inheritance.
It can only be inherited by Ellen's direct descendants.
So it's complicated.
And he talks about his time as a mercenary in France.
And how he came back a broken man.
It's a sad story.
But he's resilient.
He is.
And then he recites an old love song from the Isles.
Even though he says he can't sing.
It's a beautiful moment.
It.
And then Dougal takes off to deal with some cotters.
And he says he needs to take Claire to Fort William soon.
But he leaves them alone for now.
Which was Jamie's condition for agreeing to the marriage.
He's a good negotiator.
And then Claire picks up a dirk.
And Jamie makes a suggestive comment.
Things are definitely heating up between them.
And the next morning they leave the inn.
And Jamie salutes magpies.
as a mark of respect.
even though he doesn't believe they have souls.
It's a quirky habit.
And then they have this intimate moment on the road.
Jamie asks Claire about wanting.
And she's not sure how to answer.
It's a vulnerable moment.
And they continue on their journey with Dougal.
The road is overgrown and difficult to navigate.
And Claire tries to practice with a knife.
She's not very good at it,
Rupert gives her some advice about drawing a pistol.
which is not very helpful.
And Murtaugh says poison is the only good weapon for a woman.
He's so cynical.
But he has a point.
And then they make camp by Loch Ness.
And Claire has this feeling of déjà vu.
It's like she's been there before.
But she hasn't.
Not in this time.
And Jamie has to leave her alone for a while.
He warns her not to wander off.
And of course she does.
And she runs into Captain Randall again.
It's a terrible encounter.
She sees flashes of Frank in Randall's face.
It's unsettling.
And she regrets making him laugh earlier.
Because she knows he's dangerous.
And Randall sends her to Edinburgh with the next dispatch.
He wants her to arrive undamaged.
It's creepy.
And when Jamie gets back, they have this big fight.
But they eventually forgive each other.
They need each other.
And Jamie tells Claire about 2 times he was punished.
Once for insulting Mistress Fitzgibbons.
And once for something involving log hair.
It's clear that corporal punishment is a normal thing in this time.
And then Jamie sees his father, Fort William.
Right before his execution.
It's a heartbreaking moment.
And later, Jamie misinterprets Claire's reaction to his touch.
And they have to talk about his assault on her.
It's a difficult conversation.
But it's necessary.
And Jamie asks Claire if he can share her bed again.
In Bargrennan.
It's a big step for them.
And Jamie demands his share of the Mackenzie rents from Dougal.
He uses their marriage as leverage.
He's getting smarter.
And they finally get to sleep in a real bed in Bargren.
Get relief.
Claire tries to ask about Loghair.
And Jamie says she's no threat.
Great now.
Famous last words. And then they have this huge fight in their bedchamber.
It's very passionate.
But also very destructive.
Their relationship is so complicated.
And then Jamie talks to his cousin Hamish about marriage.
Hamish thinks Claire's soft.
It's a funny little scene.
And then someone throws a knife into their room.
That's not funny.
No, it's scary.
But Claire and Jamie comfort each other.
They're getting through this together.
And the next morning, they're playful in bed.
They're starting to feel more comfortable with each other.
And then Jamie hurts his foot.
And Claire examines it.
She's always the doctor.
And then Dougal and Malcolm Grant show up.
They've been fighting.
It's chaos.
And then Colum organizes a stag hunt.
With the Duke.
The Duke flirts with Claire.
It's inappropriate.
And then there's a trial.
A young girl accuses Galis Duncan of using herbs and charms to make her bleed.
It almost killed her.
People are afraid of witchcraft.
And a witness who claims to have seen a water horse is dismissed.
The judge doesn't believe him.
He thinks it's nonsense.
And Father Bain makes this dramatic speech about witchcraft.
It's intense.
And Claire's bound and helpless during the trial.
She feels completely powerless.
And Jamie comes back after the trial.
And he comforts Claire.
He tells her about his own experience with punishment.
He's trying to help her understand.
And then Claire tells Jamie the truth.
About her time travel.
She's so emotional.
It's a huge moment.
And there's a long silence afterwards.
Jamie doesn't know what to say.
They go to Craigna Dun.
And Claire's scared.
She's about to go back to her own time.
Jamie encourages her to touch the stone.
And she's overwhelmed by the experience.
She's traveling through time.
But Jamie pulls her back.
He can't let her go.
And he apologizes.
He doesn't want to lose her.
And Claire warns Jamie about the Jacobite rising.
She knows what's going to happen.
She tells him that Colum is right.
About Prince Charlie.
It's a lot for Jamie to take in.
But he listens.
And Claire's resilient.
She's been through so much.
She thinks about her marriages to Frank and Jamie.
2 very different men.
And Jamie tells Claire that he told the Duke he's an outlaw.
But he didn't tell him everything.
He's being careful.
And then old Alec interrupts them.
And Jamie and Murtaugh have to leave quickly.
It's dangerous.
And Claire meets Jamie's hunting dogs.
They're big and scary.
But Jamie handles them calmly.
He's a natural with animals.
And they arrive at Lallybroch.
And Jamie sees his sister Jenny.
It's a tense reunion.
Jenny's angry.
She thinks Claire's an English whore.
She doesn't know the truth.
Lallybroch is beautiful.
It's a peaceful place.
But there's conflict inside the house.
Ian's not happy.
He doesn't trust Claire.
And Jenny defends her honor.
She loves Jamie.
And she won't let anyone hurt him.
And Jamie tells Claire about his first time.
With a girl named Tibby.
It's a funny story.
And they go to the mill.
And they meet Mrs. McNabb.
She's a kind woman.
And then English dragoons arrive.
Dangerous.
But Mrs. McNabb saves them,
She's quick thinking.
and Claire and Jamie have a tender moment back at Lollybroch.
They're interrupted by young Jamie.
He's asleep by the fire.
He's adorable.
And Jenny asks about Claire's jewelry.
Jamie gets her the pearl necklace back.
It's a symbol of their marriage.
And Murtaugh defends Lycare's mother.
He's loyal to his friends.
And the McNabbs leave Lollybroch.
It's sad to see them go.
But they'll be back.
And Claire talks about her medical skills.
She wants to help people.
And she hears about the watch.
It's a dangerous group of men.
And Claire goes with a gypsy to find Jamie.
She's desperate.
She doesn't like the gypsy.
She's uncomfortable.
And she meets Sir Fletcher.
He's a strange man.
And he gives her a scandalous gown to wear.
It's not appropriate.
But she has no choice.
And she goes back to Wentworth Prison.
To see Jamie.
He's in a bad way.
He begs her to leave.
He doesn't want her to see him die.
It's heartbreaking.
And Murtaugh finds Claire.
He's come to rescue her.
They go to McRannock's land.
And Claire explains what happened.
McRannock is not optimistic.
He thinks Jamie is dead.
But Claire won't give up.
And McRannock yells at Absalom
For being a fool.
And Claire needs laudanum.
She's in pain.
And she gives some to Jamie.
Before she tries to reset his shoulder.
He's dislocated it.
It's a painful procedure.
But Jamie's stoic.
He doesn't complain.
He makes silly faces to distract Claire.
He's a good man.
And then he has a nightmare.
About his flogging.
It's terrifying.
And Claire thinks about love.
And her Uncle Lamb.
It's a strange comparison.
And the monks prepare to anoint Jamie.
He's gravely injured.
And Claire tells the abbot about her time travel.
He's skeptical at first.
But then he's amazed.
It's a miracle.
And Claire goes looking for Jamie.
But she finds Murtaugh instead.
And Murtaugh points to the window.
What's out there?
We'll have to wait and see.
This is just the beginning of Claire's journey.
It's been a wild ride so far.
And it's only going to get crazier.
What does it mean to be truly out of time?
How do we adapt when our understanding of reality is shattered?
Claire's journey is a testament to the resilience of the human spirit.
And the power of love.
We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.
To delve deeper into the mysteries of the past.